I'm Allendale's chief meteorologist Ryan Martin with a look at your midday weather update. The latest surface analysis shows high pressure sitting just to the northeast of Chicago, but we've got a frontal boundary that's kind of stalled out in the Ohio River Valley, curving back up through northern Missouri and running along the Missouri Valley border all the way up into central South Dakota. Ahead of that front, or to the east side, we should say, good rains and thunderstorms across parts of Iowa and down into northern Missouri. Amounts right now look like they're anywhere from a half to 1.5 inches, and this moisture is slowly but surely moving to the east. Up in the northern plains, looking at a secondary batch of moisture trying to push into western North Dakota. At this point, it looks like it's going to continue this east to southeasterly push, but we should still see some moisture around. We started the day off with scattered showers over Kansas and southern Nebraska. Those have dissipated, but two areas of low pressure remain. One in western Kansas and one all the way back into extreme northeastern parts of New Mexico. So we'll keep an eye on action there. Latest model runs out right now. Not really overly impressive if you get right down to it. As a matter of fact, we're looking at this moisture in Iowa just meandering eastward on the models. We might see some secondary moisture fire off behind it in eastern Nebraska later this afternoon into this evening, being aided by the stuff up in the northern plains. Really, though, getting much of it to go farther south than I-80 is going to be difficult. If anything happens farther south at all, it'll be pushing toward midnight to maybe 3 a.m. over parts of northeast Kansas and maybe down toward Wichita, but it's not going to be much. The thunderstorms take on new life across eastern Iowa and into Illinois as we head towards sunrise tomorrow. Then they dissipate a little bit, but this moisture will just continue to meander eastward through the weekend and into early parts of next week. We see at this point no reason whatsoever to change our forecast thoughts from earlier today, which say that as we go through this weekend, we're probably looking at moisture on the order of about, a third to maybe 3/4 or slightly over 3/4 of an inch of additional rain. Now, that does not take into account what we've seen in Iowa so far, but this is mostly eastern Iowa, across Illinois, Indiana, so on and so forth. There will be a little bit of a secondary push of moisture that comes in behind as we start off next week, mostly in the upper Midwest. This will be born out of some thunderstorms that move across North and South Dakota as we head through Monday morning. But some of that, as it drifts southeastward, will probably do another quarter to maybe third of an inch. Latest models actually have slightly more moisture in there, but I think they're probably overdoing things just a little bit. So, long and short of it is, by the time we get to Thursday of next week, everybody will have gotten a nice little drink, and then we're going to gear up for some stronger frontal action as we finish out next week. Some thunderstorms may fire off over southern Illinois, Boot Heel and Missouri area, for example, as we go through Wednesday night into Thursday of next week. Not really associated with any serious front. But the next serious front starts to push into the northern plains going into early Friday, the 22nd. That front then comes across the rest of the Corn Belt with some scattered shower and thunderstorm action. Maybe not a lot. We like the initial push to be half, 3/4 of an inch or less, coverage 60%. But then what follows on the heels of that, a secondary little boundary, as we go through the 24th, 25th, can give probably 1 to 2, maybe 3 inches of rain, and we'll see cooler air come in behind that frontal boundary. So there's going to be a nice drink of rain there as we go into the later stages of the forecast window. Also still seeing models want to jump on a potential second strong front or even a third one as we go into the end of the month, so the 30th into the 31st. Plenty of moisture coming here short term. Temperatures are what's going to be really interesting. Of course, the temperatures getting a lot of play this morning as parts of Indiana were down in the lower 40s. There were some pictures of light frost on some soybean leaves making the rounds of social media. That was really, really overblown. Most of the areas where the pictures were attributed to were in areas where temperatures stayed in the lower 40s, and the two just can't combine. Lowest temperature I saw, for example, in Indiana, 39 in Logansport, down along the Wabash River. So some low-lying areas there, some areas that might be 5-10 feet lower than the rest of the field. Yeah, could have seen some frost settle in some of those areas, very, very light, because maybe we hit 37, 38 degrees. But that's the only area where I would be looking at that kind of scenario playing out. I'm not going to sit here and call foul, I guess, on a grand scale, but it really seems that the cool temperatures are overblown. And we need to point out, just as we did in the write-up earlier this morning, that there's no correlation with cooler temperatures in July and August and an early frost. That isn't to say we're going to sit here and say beyond all shadow of a doubt, 1,000% sure that there will not be an early frost. That'd be just silly. But there's nothing right now that tells us there will be. Definitely nothing in the next 3, 4, 5 weeks or so that says we've got problems coming. So we'll keep an eye on that. But, the temperatures are going to be real squirrely here. Cool right now. We'll see temperatures bump up as we go through most of next week as the ridge from the west still tries to hold on over the center of the country and on to the east. I think we'll see temperatures normal to above probably through most of next week. But the fronts that come through then for the 24th, 25th, and on toward the 30th, those are really going to try and scale back the temperatures quite a little bit. I'm looking for a cooler push as we go toward the end of August, and maybe one more warm push followed by another cool push into the first week of September. And when I say cool, we're talking just a few degrees below normal, no major pushback. But all of this is happening because that huge ridge that's been in play over the western United States for a good part of the year so far, it's finally starting to get beat down. Good moisture coming into the west coast areas eventually here, inland and over the west. Excellent rains coming as we finish out this month. And so that right there is changing the weather pattern here just a little bit, getting us more active on precipitation, sure, but temperatures, I think you're going to be seeing some give and take, some back and forth here as cool air really wants to be here. But we're going to have that warm air ridge that's still gasping for breath, scratching, clawing, trying to hold on. That'll make life interesting into early September. That's what we've got in your forecast. If you've got any need for information, updates, specific questions, give us a call at Allendale. I'm Chief Meteorologist Ryan Martin.